I'm 79 years old, and my daughter grew up without me. I was there. Physically, I mean. I lived in the same house. I paid the mortgage. I sat at the dinner table most nights. But I wasn't there. Not really. And she knew it. Children always know. Her name is Sarah. She's 52 now. Lives about 40 minutes away with her own family. We talk on the phone sometimes. Polite conversations, surface things. The weather, her kids' schools, my doctor appointments. There's this space between us. Has been for decades. It's like talking to someone through glass. I worked in accounting. 37 years at the same firm. Started as a junior clerk. Worked my way up to senior accountant. Nothing remarkable. Nothing to write home about, as they say. But it was steady work. Respectable. Put food on the table. Kept the lights on. That's what mattered, I thought. That's what I told myself every morning when I left the house at 6:30. My wife Martha used to say, I was married to the job. I'd laugh it off. Tell her someone had to provide. Tell her I was doing it for them, for her and Sarah. And I believed that. I genuinely believed I was being a good father, because I worked hard and the bills were paid, and there was money in the bank. Sarah was born in 1973. March 14th, it was a Tuesday. I remember, because I had to reschedule a client meeting. Martha's labor started early, around 4 in the morning. We got to the hospital by 5. Sarah came into the world at 11:47 a.m. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, dark hair, like her mother. I held her for maybe 10 minutes before I called the office. Told them I'd be in the next day. They said take a few days. I said no, we were fine. Everything was fine. I was back at my desk by Thursday morning. When Sarah was little, maybe 3 or 4, she used to wait by the front window. Martha told me this years later. I didn't know it at the time. Every evening, around 6, Sarah would pull a chair over to the window and watch for my car. She'd wait there for an hour sometimes, 2 hours. I usually got home around 7:30, 8 o'clock, sometimes later. By the time I walked through the door, she'd already be in her pajamas, already had dinner. Sometimes she'd already been put to bed. Martha would tell me Sarah asked about me, wanted to show me a drawing, or a rock she found, or some little toy. I'd nod, say I'd look at it in the morning. But mornings were rushed. I'd be out the door by 6:30, and Sarah would still be asleep. Weekends were for catching up. That's what I told myself. Catching up on paperwork I'd brought home. Catching up on yard work, house repairs, bills. Martha would suggest we go to the park, or the zoo, or just for a drive. I'd say later. I'd say next weekend. I'd say I just needed to finish this one thing. Sarah stopped asking me to play with her. I don't remember exactly when. Maybe when she was 7, 8, she just stopped. She'd play alone in her room, or with neighborhood kids, or she'd sit with Martha in the kitchen. She stopped showing me her drawings too, stopped telling me about school. I noticed, somewhere in the back of my mind, but I was relieved more than anything. Less distraction, more time to focus on what needed to be done. There was this Saturday. Sarah must have been 9 or 10. She had a school play, some kind of spring production. She had a small part, 3 or 4 lines, maybe. Martha reminded me about it all week. Put a note on the refrigerator, circled the date on the calendar. The play was at 2 in the afternoon. That Saturday morning, a client called. Emergency, he said. Needed to go over his quarterly statements. Something wasn't adding up. He was panicking. I told Martha I'd just run to the office for an hour, 2 hours tops. I'd be back in time. I got absorbed in the work. One problem led to another. Spreadsheets, receipts, phone calls. I looked up at the clock, and it was 3:15. The play was over. I drove home with this sick feeling in my stomach. Told myself I'd explain, tell Sarah how important the client was, how much he needed me. She'd understand. She was a smart kid, she'd understand. When I got home, Martha's face was stone. She didn't yell. That almost made it worse. Sarah was in her room, still in her costume, this little flower costume with green tights and petals around her face. I knocked on her door. She said, "Come in." I opened it, and she was sitting on her bed, just sitting there, still wearing the costume. I started to apologize, started to explain about the client, the emergency. She looked at me with these big, dark eyes, a mother's eyes, and she said, "It's okay, Dad." 9 years old, and she said it like she meant it, like she'd already accepted it. That's what broke something in me, I think. Not anger, just acceptance. But I didn't change. That's the thing. I felt bad for a few days, maybe a week. Then life went back to normal, back to the routine, early mornings, late nights, weekends at the office. There was always something urgent, always something that couldn't wait. Sarah grew up, middle school, high school. I missed most of it. I was there for the big events, graduation, sure, but the small moments, the everyday moments, the moments that actually matter, I was absent. She had her first heartbreak at 14. I didn't know about it until years later. She made the honor roll every semester in high school. I don't think I ever told her I was proud. Maybe I did. I don't remember. She went to college, upstate, came home for holidays. Our conversations were brief. How's school? Fine. How's work? Fine. We'd run out of things to say within 5 minutes. Martha would fill the silence. Always Martha, building bridges, trying to connect us. Sarah graduated, got a job in marketing, met a man named Tom. They got engaged. I walked her down the aisle. It was a beautiful wedding. June afternoon, outdoor venue, white flowers everywhere. When I took her arm to walk her down the aisle, she was stiff, formal, like I was just a part of the ceremony, not her father. She had children, my grandchildren, 2 boys, 1 girl. They're teenagers now. I barely know them. They're polite when they see me, call me Grandpa, but there's no connection, no foundation. How could there be? I built nothing with their mother, so there's nothing for them to build on. Martha passed away 6 years ago, heart attack sudden. She was in the garden one moment, gone the next. The grief nearly killed me. I realized, then too late, always too late, that she was the thread holding everything together. Every relationship I had with Sarah, with the grandkids, it all went through Martha. She was the translator, the bridge, and when she died, the bridge collapsed. Sarah came to the funeral, of course, stayed for a week, helped me sort through things. We didn't talk much. What was there to say? She packed up her mother's clothes, her books, her jewelry. I sat in my chair and watched. I wanted to talk to her. Really talk. Tell her I was sorry. Tell her I knew I'd failed. But the words wouldn't come. 73 years old, and I didn't know how to talk to my own daughter. After she left, the house was silent. It's still silent. 6 years of silence. I rattle round in here like a ghost. Sarah calls once a week. Sunday afternoons, we talk for 10, maybe 15 minutes. She tells me about the kids' soccer games, school activities, Tom's job. I tell her about my doctors, my medications, the weather. Then we run out of things to say, and she tells me she has to go. Dinner to make or errands to run, and we say goodbye. She doesn't visit much, maybe 3, 4 times a year. Holidays, mostly. She brings the family. We have a meal, they stay for a few hours, then they leave. The grandkids sit on their phones. Tom watches whatever game is on. Sarah helps in the kitchen even though I tell her not to. Then they're gone and the house is silent again. I'm not angry at her. I want to be clear about that. I'm not angry at her for the distance. She didn't create it. I did. Year after year, choice after choice, I built this distance. Brick by brick, missed moment by missed moment. I had a fall last year, broke my hip, was in the hospital for a week, then rehab for a month. Sarah came to visit twice. Once when it first happened, once when I got moved to rehab. Both times she stayed for an hour. We made small talk. She asked about my pain levels, my physical therapy, the food. She didn't hold my hand. She sat in the chair by the window, 3 feet away. And we talked like acquaintances. There was a moment, during that second visit, I was tired from therapy, in pain, feeling sorry for myself. I said something, I don't even remember what exactly, something about wishing she'd visit more. She went very quiet. Then she said, "Dad, I'm here now." That's all she said. But the way she said it, this flatness in her voice, this exhaustion, not anger. Anger would have been better. This was just tired resignation, like she'd given up hoping for anything different years ago. I wanted to tell her then. Wanted to say, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry for everything I missed, for not being there, for choosing work and clients and spreadsheets over her, over you, always over you. But I didn't. I just nodded and changed the subject. Asked about the boys' baseball season. I think about time differently now. When you're young, time feels infinite, like there's always tomorrow, always next week, always next year. You tell yourself you'll make up for it later. You'll be present later. You'll connect later. Later, but later becomes never. That's the truth. No one tells you. Or maybe they do tell you and you don't listen because you think you're different. Your situation is different. Your work is important. Your reasons are valid. They're not. None of it matters. Not the clients, not the deadlines, not the promotions, or the steady paycheck, or the security. None of it matters compared to your child watching out the window, waiting for you to come home. I have all the time in the world now. Nothing but time. Hours and days and weeks, stretching ahead, empty and quiet. And the one person I want to spend it with doesn't really want to spend it with me. Not because she's cruel, because I'm a stranger to her. I was a stranger to her when she was 4, and I'm a stranger to her now that she's 52. You can't build a relationship in your 70s that you refused to build in your 30s and 40s. It doesn't work that way. Children aren't bank accounts you can ignore for decades and then make a deposit and expect returns. They're human beings who needed you and you weren't there. I look at photos sometimes. We have albums. Martha kept albums. There are pictures of Sarah at every age. Birthday parties, school events, family vacations. I'm in some of them, standing in the back, usually, or off to the side. In a lot of them, I'm looking away from the camera, looking at my watch, or distracted by something else. Martha's looking at Sarah. Sarah's smiling at her mother, and I'm just there, present but absent. There's this one photo. Sarah must be 5, maybe 6. We're at the beach. Martha took the picture. Sarah built this elaborate sandcastle, spent hours on it, tunnels and towers and a moat. In the photo, she's pointing at it, showing it to me, and I'm looking at it, but my face is blank. Not proud, not impressed, not engaged, just blank. Like I'm looking at a spreadsheet. That's the photo that stays with me. That's the one I see when I close my eyes at night. If you're watching this, and you're 40, 45 years old, and you have children, and you're telling yourself you're working hard for them, listen to me. You're not. You're working hard for you, for your ego, your identity, your fear of not being enough or not providing enough. But your children don't need more money in the bank. They need you. They need you to put down your phone when they're talking. They need you to sit on the floor and play, even when you're tired. They need you at their plays and games and recitals, actually watching, actually present, not checking emails in the back row. They need you to know their friends' names and their favorite subjects and what scares them at night. They need you now, not later. Not when the project is finished, or the promotion comes through, or the business stabilizes. Now, because later they'll be grown, and you'll be old, and the distance between you will be so vast that neither of you will know how to cross it. You think you have time. You don't. I'm 79 years old. I have a daughter I barely know. I have grandchildren who are polite strangers. I have a house full of silence and a head full of regrets. I have all the time in the world and no one to spend it with. Don't be me. Sarah's coming over tomorrow for Sunday dinner. She'll stay for 2 hours, maybe 3. We'll talk about the weather and her kids and my health. Then she hug me goodbye, brief polite, and drive away. And I'll stand at the window, watching her car disappear down the street. The way she once stood at the window, watching for mine. The difference is, she stopped waiting. And I have to live with that.